Hey, what's up, guys? During the last few weeks, you've been noticing a lot of people uh, criticizing pretty much every move that I make. And, you know, they'll start maybe a 7 hour hangout here, 5 hour hangout there, um, 3 hour hangouts, and sometimes multiple people are hosting hangouts at once talking about me, and they're actually dedicating that much time talking about me or criticizing me. um, I want people to understand something that obviously I don't sit back and I don't watch all of these hangouts because I've got more important things to take care of and to deal with, and sit back and listen to some guy that doesn't have a life talk about me for 7 hours straight. Um, but I want you guys to understand that just because you're seeing and noticing a lot of um, atheist revolutionists in the hangouts get over charismatic and talk about me and criticize every move that I make doesn't necessarily mean that anything that they're saying is right. Um, One thing you need to pay very careful attention to is when trying to get some of these people into a room with me, like Steve or I don't even remember his name, the British guy, the Rumpus. It's like, it's like trying to pull teeth. You can't get them inside of a room with you. And they make every excuse into the book why they won't come in and have a discussion with you. And the reason why, you need to pay attention to this. The reason why is because it's one thing to get carried away and to become over charismatic when you're in a room with a bunch of people that are going to agree with everything that you say. But it's another thing to actually come into a room and to put those claims and statements to the test to see if there's not going to be a response to correct what you're saying. Um, One of the funny things that I've been noticing this last week or so is you guys notice how they're always talking about, well, Fiona's actually a biologist. I actually have biologists that agree with me, and they're usually referring to Fiona, and that I should just shut up, know my place, and pretty much, in my words, just sort of agree with her basically because she's right. I showed a video the other day that had to do with a geneticist, a PhD in genetics, and he was disagreeing with what they were saying, and they went all up in arms on it and started talking about it in some hangouts. So do I play the same card that they were playing? What do I say right here at this point? Fiona's not a biologist. You guys aren't. Fiona's not a geneticist. You guys aren't geneticists. So I should listen to this guy because he's actually a geneticist. So, no, obviously that's not the way that we should go. But I think that what we should do is we should start paying attention to the data instead to see what information actually fits. Somebody actually screen shared me or shared with me a video that I was going to try to screen share here. It was an email back and forth between Ken Miller and this individual, this geneticist, over some sort of drama that was happening. What they linked me was actually was Ken Miller responding to it, but it wasn't the original email between Ken Miller and what was his name? I forget what the geneticist name was. I think it was Tompkins, I believe. But they didn't confirm any way that it was wrong. And of course, they never do confirm anything like this to be wrong. Anytime we bring up something that criticizes evolution, and all they really do is give us what another person says or how they feel about the situation, but they didn't get into any of the data to confirm or discredit what was actually being said. And I like to actually offer an opportunity for a lot of you guys to come into a room with me and to actually back up the claims that you're making, because I can say with more confidence that the chromosome 2 fusion site was not a fusion event than you can actually say that it was a fusion event, because all you're doing is you're superimposing on information, and I'm pointing out what the data has shown thus far, that all telomere-telomere fusions have had some sort of catastrophic or dangerous effects. It should have been a satellite DNA to satellite DNA fusion, or a satellite DNA to a telomere fusion, not a telomere to telomere fusion. And if they've got examples or evidence that can support a telomere fusion like this, they've got to actually support evidence, and they haven't supported any evidence of this type of fusion. They're superimposing on sequences, and they're declaring, well, the evolution must have done it. Do you remember Hogtie's response to it? Hogtie said something pretty much equivalent to, well, in my own words, you guys got to go back to the last discussion and watch it. Even if this was the first example that we've seen, we should say, well, wow, we found an example of how it happened. Well, no, that's pretty much evolution of the gaps now, isn't it? I mean, that is what it comes down to. We don't know, therefore evolution did it. We don't know, so it must have been a fusion event. And there's no reason or any evidence implicating that any of this is true. And I don't think that any of you can actually support it or to prove that it's actually true, that it is a fusion event, that these two chromosomes, they actually fuse together. But again, come into a room with me and let's see how far you get with it, because I'm not going to sit back and listen to you cowards run your mouth for a 7-hour hangout at all. That's not going to happen. Okay. Any information that you think discredits what I've said, come into a room with me and talk with me over it. If you don't feel comfortable coming into a room by yourself, I tell you what, we can have a 2-on-2 discussion. If you want it this way, I don't care how you want it, a 2-on-2 discussion between myself, Nephilim Free, and any two of you that disagree with what I'm saying. It'll be a moderated discussion if you want it. If not, we can just have a 2-on-2 discussion, just a general discussion, so that we can talk about these things. Because here's the difference between myself and Nephilim Free and some of the theists on our side of the circle than you guys. We're confident in what we're saying. We do the research and we look into some of this stuff. I don't think you guys do. I think that you guys really skim the surface on a lot of things. You might hear Fiona talking about something, and then you'll try to memorize that. But then that's pretty much as far as you can go. You guys really can't get into any technical details on this. And that really shows, I mean, if you pay attention to my discussion with Hogtie, the first discussion that I had with him, I was doing my homework and I wasn't really paying too much attention to him, which brings me to another point I need to get on later on about me being accused of lying. But the first discussion, I was obviously distracted. And when I took the screen share off of the video, I actually had let them know the reason why I was doing it, because I had to document it was my homework that had my private information on it. And I didn't want it being screen shared. But it was very clear that I wasn't getting in technical details in that discussion. But last time in the discussion that I was in, you noticed something. Now Hogtie knew what I was talking about. He knew what the topic was on, because when he came in, I was screen sharing the same video that I screen shared last time. And, he came in pretty respectful and calm. But as soon as I got into technical details that I did not get into the day before that, like, what was it, like 12 hours beforehand, I believe, he got defensive real quick. He got real defensive because he didn't know how to answer that. And then you notice when he left, he came back in a little bit later, and then all of a sudden there was a sort of a different tone. Well, probably because he went and tried to Google some information, and then now he knew what to talk about. But just go back and watch that and notice that. So I mean, again, I see that type of thing happen a lot, like where I'm getting laid back with people and I don't talk about things in technical details. And then as soon as I start talking about it, I start seeing a lot of defensive behavior, because again, it's one thing to where you guys can criticize and run your mouth in comment sections or in other hangouts, but it's another thing when you actually come into a room and actually talk about it, because there's information that you're not expecting me to talk about or bring up. That happened again a while ago. I brought this up before with MM Artist, I believe. MM Artist running his mouth in the comment section about DNA breaking down in water. He wasn't expecting me to bring up some information, very basic information, I would say. Most people probably know about it. But he got defensive. He cursed at me. He wouldn't let me talk, and then he left before we could even begin the discussion. As soon as I called him out when the hangout went off air. I said, "All right, let's talk about this little criticism of yours." And he got really defensive. And there was, I believe, Galaxy was in that hangout, Arcane, and a couple of other people were in that hangout. I think Xbox was in that hangout as well. And they could all, hopefully, if they're going to be honest enough, vouch for that. I mean, I know Arcane, he'll back it up, but I don't really talk to Galaxy too much or Xbox. But yeah, I mean, he did. He got defensive again. That's something that happens all the time. I see it happen all the time. I mean, you guys remember when JD came into the room, got defensive. He actually proved exactly what Nephilim Free said, like just a few minutes beforehand, that he cannot control himself. He's got to always interrupt and everything else. And immediately after that, he muted me, and then I had to kick him because he didn't want a free talk, it seemed like. But I mean, that's exactly what I see. I've noticed this pattern a lot. I mean, running your mouths in comment sections and other videos, other long hangouts as if you're accomplishing something, but you stay away from people like me, the people that you're criticizing, because you know that when push comes to shove, more than likely you're going to be eating your words. And I want people to pay very close attention to that, because listen here, man, all of these people, literally all of them, JD Kane, Steve McRae, Dragnock, all of these clowns that you see in these hangouts running their mouth and smiling and smirking and making their little points, they've all been dealt with. Every single one of them have been dealt with already, and the material is out there so that people can go check and see what I'm saying. You don't have to listen to my interpretation of it. Go back and check it out, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. They have all been dealt with. And I can put a compilation video clip by clip of each of our discussions in each and every situation that's happened between myself and every one of these people in these circles. And then you'll understand that, why the statement that Steve makes is the way that it is. And Steve has said, well, nobody here, everyone in this hangout disagrees with them. That's because every single one of you people in those hangouts have gotten a little spanking from myself or Nephilim Free, and you're butthurt about it. That's the reason why. And I can prove it. But again, you guys don't believe all of the talk that happens in these circles. There's so much talk that happens here online. I cannot keep up with it. I've got so many people sending me emails and so on. I really can't keep up with it. And a lot of the times I don't even know what's being said or talked about. By the time that information comes full circle back to me, I've got to sort through all sorts of videos just to try to find where the accusation started so that I get better context of what's being said. Don't believe what's being said. Don't pay attention to what's being said. Use a little bit of wisdom and discernment. Pay attention to what's being said, how it's being said, because if I make a mistake, I'm going to tell you guys I made a mistake, because, if I don't want the people that are listening to me that don't really understand this stuff to get the wrong information, despite what these people are trying to say and what they think. I know that if somebody gets the wrong information from me and they're using the wrong type of argument, then they're going to look bad if they use it with somebody else. But these people on our little community will just declare that it's a bad argument, that it's bad information, without themselves even understanding it. I mean, that's just the truth. And we've shown that many, many, many different times. I mean, I've shown that a lot, where I will prove somebody wrong flat out, and I'll be saying it for a long time. Then they'll admit that they're wrong. This has happened in different occasions. And the people that are watching the videos or commenting, they don't care about the footage that's proving my point, or the comments that are proving my point, or the screenshots. They're just agreeing with whatever the negative opposition is, and they're not listening. They're like a brick wall. You can't, no matter what you say, for some reason, it's like you can't get through to them. They just don't listen. And they don't want to listen, obviously. I mean, they don't want to listen. They got their own mind made up about some of this stuff. No matter what you say, they're not going to listen. But yeah, that's the end of the hangout. Whatever you guys hear these people talking about, don't believe it. Any of you people want to run your mouth in another video acting like you know about something, come into a room with me and let's talk about it. If you're too much of a coward to come in by yourself or myself and Nephilim Free, and you and somebody else that you feel confident with, we can have a 2-on-2 discussion. I really don't care because I'm confident in what my views are because I've looked into the information. That doesn't mean that I know everything, but I know enough to know that a lot of you people are full of crap. That's it. Take it easy.